Good morning. This is Just Listen, hosted by George live. It's Monday, February 16th. Welcome to the podcast. And as promised, we're going to be down to 15 minutes today. And we're going to get to the point as quickly as we can. So today's podcast is going to be about voting in the state of Illinois and why this is important. And I can flow in what the legislature is doing and if I were running for governor of Illinois using this subject. And let's get started. So I was just curious about how people were voting in Illinois versus what the federal government was trying to do nationally. So those should match up a little bit. So in Illinois, in case you didn't know, you can do same day registration if you're a first time voter or signature challenges. Those are the two main thrust points that I want to start with. So if you're registering to vote or changing your address in person on election day, that's when the same day registration would come into effect. And you had to have two forms of ID, and we are familiar with that. So I have actually moved around in Illinois a couple of times, just to different towns and stuff. And quite frankly, they made it pretty easy. All you had to do is bring in a bill, and you actually go to the courthouse. And one time I voted in a federal election, and they made me do a provisional ballot. So if you're not familiar with provisional ballots, the bottom line is that the election officials, they can either accept it or not accept it, and you never know if it got accepted or not, because that's how provisional ballots work, and those are voting for Congress people and for the president if it's a national election. All right. And then they talked about the first time voters. So all you got to do is bring a driver's license, state ID number, and the last four digits of your social security number. And that's interesting because typically I've only seen people use a driver's license if they show anything, because when you walk into uh, any precinct in Illinois, they want to check your address. And um, the only thing that they can challenge you on is a signature. So in this state, if the election judge says that your signature doesn't match, then you can't vote, in case you didn't know that. Now, let's see what in Illinois, what the accepted forms of ID are. Okay, so you got the Illinois driver's license, you got the utility bill, bank statement or paycheck, mortgage document, student ID card, and social security card or US passport. Okay, so you only need to do two forms of ID. So you can actually do a driver's license or state ID, utility bill. How does that verify who the person is and if they are supposed to vote in a federal election? Driver's license, all you do is you pay someone in Illinois and you take driving lessons, and then you get the ID or the driver's license. So if you look at the federal law, and what I'm getting to is that doesn't verify if the person is supposed to vote in either a state or a federal election. And as you know, in Illinois right now, the legislature and the governor or promoting non-citizens. Well, then if people in Illinois, in theory, especially in the governor's race coming up, all they have to do is show a driver's license, utility bill, okay, and they can vote and they won't be challenged. Now, if I blend in that you need a national ID to vote in a federal election, there goes the assumption that people could actually vote in the federal election and it not be questioned at all. And that's what the federal government is actually trying to crack down on. Now, there are no bills in the legislature to validate having a picture ID being mandatory. So that would be a chance for whoever's running for governor to talk about that and to say, because even though last election the governor won probably by like 300,000 votes, you still need to question the integrity of who's actually voting in the state. And that's why I'm bringing it up, because it is an important subject from that perspective of, and do you think that Illinois needs to have a national ID for someone to vote in state and federal elections? Now, in local elections, they, meaning in the local municipalities, they are already letting people vote even if they don't know their status. And I'm saying it that way because if you show up to vote, all you have to do is vote. No one challenges you. And I would remind you that local officials have budgets and they're using taxpayer dollars to fund things locally. And then what are they funding? Now, with the midterm election coming up in November, there needs to be an audit on who's actually casting votes in Illinois, because as I've laid out, it looks like to me that you don't know who's voting. You know that they have an address, and you know that, and if they show it, they have a driver's license, but that doesn't validate that they are a citizen and an Illinois resident. We have no idea. Now, that prompted something too. So in state elections, people running for governor, how do you know that they are a resident of the state? Now, that's something that needs to be talked about, because this is a sanctuary city, a state, I should say. And wow, we have Democrats in the state who are promoting all of these new benefits and taxes for people that we don't even know if they even live in the state. And so they could come and vote as well, because if you're just going to show them a utility bill or a bank statement, it's not illegal to be a resident of another state and come and vote and live with somebody in Illinois. No one is talking about that, but that's a possibility that no one is even talking about. So this is something, in my view, that if I'm trying to get into the legislature or run for governor, it's just very, very important. And the rules currently, they are actually part of the Illinois state constitution, and there is no ID card with a photo that you currently have to show. And also, there are no audits in Illinois that are currently telling you that Illinois has verified that people who vote in the state elections are even residents of the state. And it wouldn't be all of the 50 states. And all I'm looking at is Illinois. So I'm not saying that it is a national issue. I'm just saying that it's something to look and to audit and to realize that there might be an issue from that perspective. So this weekend, I think it was Friday, I saw an ad from a Republican candidate. So I want to spend the last couple of minutes talking about voting in general. I think that people should vote in the primaries. The primaries get your primary person to run in the general election, and tune in to what the Republicans are saying on the Republican side. For governor, we have a Senate seat up, and then of course the legislature. And take 5 or 10 minutes out to go and see what the legislature is actually working on in Illinois. And I've been telling you over and over again, taxes are going to be a huge issue. As a matter of fact, I think the state of the state address from Governor Pritzker is going to be next week, if it's not this week, and see what he's saying, because that's important for you as a voter, because they excuse me, the Democrats have already came out and say that the state has no money. They said that they didn't forecast right, and so now they're blaming it on the federal government. They need money, and they're going to take your money, and you need to vote if you do not want that to happen. And then listen to the candidates on the Republican side to what they would do. And in your back pocket, you have something that most people don't know. As the governor, you have some serious veto power, and they nationally say that it's the best veto power of a governor in the United States, because they have line item veto, and things like that. And so I've talked about that. I'll probably put that on the reel. It looks like everybody's loving those reels, and to be very specific on the subject. So this is why I am reducing the time and also sticking with one subject, and putting in there sometimes a little bit of opinion too, just to get you to go and look at what I just said. So this is Just Listen Live. I'm George. Have a great day, and we'll talk again on Friday, a Friday podcast. And so that gives the state of Illinois time in politics to have done something. So we'll see if anything gets done by Friday this week. Have a great day. And as normal, as usual, it's great bringing you local politics in Southern Illinois. Have a great day.